There's certain times when you've got the mask on, and it's just to kind of maintain a level of, unwell-being. And is that where your well-being mask comes in?
Yeah, but it's not even, there's nothing there. It's the reality of who I am. I believe that if I venture in this world to my own detriment sometimes, very authentically, because not everybody likes to see your real self.
Exactly,
you know? So,
absolutely. And I guess in a way, we come into the idea that a sense of well-being is actually reaching that point of being able to present our real self.
But then how do you do that? I don't think we've ever really been taught how to show the world who we really are. It's about becoming who I want to, which I'm really into. But how much is really you're following that person or you're being that,
And that, Abraham Maslow, he was a counsellor, psychotherapist around sort of like, the 1950s and 60s.
Absolutely, Maslow's theory
that hierarchy of needs.
That's the one.
At the top of it is self-actualisation. That you would probably say is the ultimate state of well-being, isn't it?
Yes, it is actually.
And in a way, he was arguing that it's relatively straightforward, isn't it? Because you just have to have all your other needs met.
Absolutely.
Like, your physical needs, your psychological needs, your belonging, and so on and so forth. And so that's his kind of journey to well-being. But I wonder, does that work for today? Because remember, he was writing about these things, 70 years ago?
70 years ago. And also, I think we need, also you've got to remember, he was a male who was educated in this world, also a white male. So his experience of life is completely different to anybody else's. So for him, it worked. And maybe for men who are in his position in today, it will work. But for others who have been othered, that hierarchy does not work for today and probably didn't work for them at that time.
In a way, you're right. He was a white, middle-aged, middle-class male model, isn't he?
He's like, I'm self-actualised. I could be living well and eating well and getting all my needs met. No.
And how do we get there, though, therefore? That becomes a question, doesn't it? I suppose it depends on what we think about well-being. Because I think well-being operates on a series of dimensions.
Absolutely.
As you were saying. So it's like, okay, so we've got physical well-being, haven't we?
Yes, we do.
And then we've got our kind of mental well-being. Okay. Then I think we've got an emotional well-being as well. And I think we've got a relationship well-being.
Yes.
And I think we've got a cognitive well-being as well.
Absolutely. Yes.
And then possibly, we could even argue that we've got a kind of, a sort of intuitive well-being.
Oh, I love that. And we don't talk about that
enough.
No,
we don't, do we?
And people think it's woo-woo, but it's not.
Absolutely, but that's a separate discussion, isn't it?
That is really, six senses everything.
Totally. And so if we've got all those different aspects of well-being, how can we possibly kind of, if we're saying we want to be 10, how can we get to 10 on every single one of those?
Now, being very conscious of it, but in this world, it doesn't give you a moment to think properly. And even though a lot of people do meditation and all of those things, life is happening, this is happening, we're plugged in, social media is happening. So then we begin to lose our consciousness and sense of self.
Absolutely,
and so all of those don't flow into one a lot of the time.
Exactly,
and at this moment in time, life is incredibly hard.
Oh, definitely.
For many people.
Absolutely.
All over the world.
There's some arguments that say that basically the only way to really do that is to work on different aspects of well-being. That's quite problematic, isn't it? Because you could be concentrating on one thing to the detriment of something else.
Yes.
Or you could be focusing on, on one area that kind of overlaps. Things like, I guess an example would be no relationship well-being.
Yes.
That's automatically going to somehow kind of overlap with your emotional well-being.
Yes, it does.
And your kind of physiological well-being.
Absolutely. And then relationships come in all different ways. Relationships with our parents, relationships with our friends, relationships with our lovers. It's that all of that goes into one, and that starts really percolating, I know, from when you're a teenager up until beyond. So trying to, regulate and take a hand on that, and especially when your hormones are bubbling, all right, and then it happens again when you get to your 40s and then you're 60, you know, so it's just, you know, we're changing, you know,
absolutely. And I mean, that's another example of well-being. That's physiological well-being, isn't it?
If someone doesn't love you, the lament of this is a whole...
then the chemicals start kicking in, don't they? Absolutely.
It's a case of, you know, just really keeping a handle on yourself. It's far and few between because it's a constant evolution.
Oh, yeah. I mean, how do you know yourself though? Do you know if you look at yourself in the mirror, for instance?
Yes.
Does that? Yeah, exactly. Now, does that tell you who you are?
No, but it gives you a certain dimension of your identity for you to then start exploring who you are, because I think that's the first start.
Right.
That's the impetus. So you can see all the things that you are and how you've presented yourself as an adult. I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And then from there, if you're strong enough, willing enough, and have the capacity, then you will deep dive who you are and all the things that have made you an experience who you are. And some people don't want to go there because it's sometimes it's too traumatic and tragic.
So you think the first step is to deep dive on yourself rather than ask other people what their impressions of you are?
That helps too. But then people have a skew because they're not you all the time. But it's always good to hear because if people love you, it's great. Oh, of course you love me, you know.
Yeah, and what part of that ego they feel in each time.
And then you get the critique of who you are, you know, and maybe you've heard that from a young person's, not like when you were young, so it could have been your parents who are so influential, and a lot of the time, sometimes it's not very good.
Absolutely.